in their parts of Mackinac County, but the rain has not been as widespread today. We'll look at that when these showers actually come to an end. And also, Cody, the other thing too, I mean, we're in fall. We're starting to talk maybe about fall color. We'll talk a little more about that. And if it's ever going to cool down, I mean, we're in some summer-like warmth here.
Yeah.
So more on that a little later.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Thank you, Joe. And as I was mentioning, a big day yesterday. It's been almost 24 hours since a tornado warning was issued for parts of northern Michigan. Many of you sending us pictures and video of what the skies looked like in your community. Today, the National Weather Service began its investigation on if the storm left any damage. Mary Jane Glenn reports from Antrim County.
We had some impressive pictures and videos sent from some storms that came through last night. We had a water spout on Torch Lake, and so there were some spotty reports of damage on land, so we're going out looking for potential tornado damage today.
Tuesday, the National Weather Service conducted a ground survey in Antrim County in suspected areas such as Bel Air, Alden, and around Torch Lake.
When we were in Bel Air, we did see some trees that were some very spotty trees that were snapped out. It wasn't like large swaths of damage. It was like one here, one there, and so but they were kind of in a more of a linear orientation. We've gone along where we think that there could have been potential tornado damage, and we've documented the points that we found, and we will take those back to our office and we will look at that, combine it with what we saw on the radar, and then we will put together a statement with our determination later this afternoon.
The search involved a lot of driving and surveying places that are open to the public. Viewers like you are also a big part of the process.
We stop along the way. We talk to, like if we see like utility workers, where we ask them, hey, where did you, are there areas where you have trees down, where you're having to do work or poles down? We talk to, anyone we encounter public. Again, because, people talk, and if there's damage in a certain, so they can sometimes help us find it. If it's not a lot of damage, it can be hard to find.
So far, the National Weather Service has not released any data or categorized the storm. In Antrim County, Mary Jane Glenn, UpNorthLive News.
Now, in the last hour, the National Weather Service in Gaylord sent out the report on what they say was 3 different tornadoes. Torch Lake was rated an EF0, the lowest tornado strength, with peak winds estimated at 75 miles per hour. Bel Air was an EF1 with estimated peak winds at 90 miles per hour. In Grand Traverse County, the NWS rated a spotted tornado an EFU, which means unknown. Switching gears a little bit, an Otsego County mother is reflecting on the unsolved murder of her son a year ago. According to the Otsego County Sheriff's Office, Dean Paget was killed in his driveway in September of 2024. Since then, no one has been arrested or charged for Paget's murder. Our Allie Baxter spoke with Dean's mother about her continued advocacy for her son's case.
We're sitting here day in and day out wondering what's going on with our loved one's case.
Around Bobby Holbert's house are Halloween decorations. Decorations she never got a chance to put up last year. So all around her, reminders of what she was doing a year ago.
My drive in to meet you today, the sun was shining through the clouds over the road that he lived on. So another cry fest.
Bobby's son Dean was killed a year ago, shot 3 times in his driveway.
I'm so thankful he did not have his daughter with him that night, which, he had her a lot. But just somebody to stand there and just kill somebody for nothing. I don't get it.
Bobby says somebody because it seems like nobody knows who shot and killed Dean. It's an investigation she was told by the Otsego County Sheriff's Office last year would be wrapped up in a couple months.
Real life homicides are not like they are on TV. We watch a TV show, it takes an hour to watch a show, and they have from the crime to the investigation to the final result. I realize that it does take time, and not everything happens overnight. It's heart-wrenching.
A year later, Bobby says she still doesn't have many answers or details about her son's death and what investigators believe led to it.
I do understand that they can't give me everything right now, but it breaks my heart not knowing some of those details, because I want to know. And I know knowing all those details is going to break my heart again. But I need to know.
When she found out her son had been killed, Bobby fell to the ground, breaking 3 of her ribs. She says it hurt to cry for months, so she didn't until now. She says it's the first time she feels like she can grieve.
Will we ever know exactly why? Probably not. But we do want that closure. We want justice for him.
Bobby's grief now turning into action.
There needs to be a better system in place. And I'm not going to stop until there is. We need to stand up. They need to hear our voices.
On Thursday, September 25th, exactly a year since Dean was killed, Bobby plans to be on the Otsego County Courthouse lawn. That day also happens to be the National Remembrance Day for murder victims.
But I don't want it to be solely about Dean. I want it to be about awareness. We are inviting anybody who has lost a loved one to come down and be the voice for their loved ones.
In Otsego County, Allie Baxter, UpNorthLive News.
To talk a little bit more about this, we're going to bring in our reporter on the story, Allie Baxter. Allie, thanks for joining us. So in the grand scheme of things, a year isn't that long. And you mentioned, Bobby said being able to cry now is one of the first times she's been able to really grieve. So this is still a raw situation and kind of feeling for that family.
Yes, Cody, this is still a really emotional situation for them, and it makes a lot of sense. You heard in that story that Bobby fell when she heard the news of her son's death. She broke 3 ribs, and she told me that it just hurt to cry, that she felt like she had to keep all her tears, all her emotions in, because it physically hurt to cry. And now she says a year later, it's like she's finally able to release a lot of that emotion that she's been kind of having to push down just for her physical pain for almost a year now.
Yeah. And if we can talk a little bit about, you mentioned at the investigation, can you talk a bit about, what we know at this point?
Yeah, Cody, I can. And what I can say is we know that based on what the Otsego County Sheriff's Office and what Bobby has shared with us is that Dean was killed in his driveway. It seems like he was ambushed in some way. He was coming home from hanging out with friends and he was shot 3 times, twice in the head. And that's kind of where a lot of our information about this case kind of falls off. We don't know too much about it because the Otsego County Sheriff's Office hasn't released a lot of details, not only to us, but also to Dean's mother as well. She says, you heard her say in that story, she feels like she wants these details. She knows it's going to break her heart again, but she wants some of these details of their investigation. And she has told me that whenever she asks some of those questions, she would like to know more information. She wants to know more about her son's death and where that investigation stands. And we know that the Otsego County Sheriff's Office is still working on this case. It is unsolved. They haven't announced that they have any suspects yet. And that is kind of where we stand right now. And especially, a year later to have this still unsolved and seemingly have not a lot of movement on it, I think is really what is hurtful for Bobby. She said that she was told kind of at the beginning of this investigation that, we feel like this could be wrapped up in maybe, a month, 2 months, like it won't be that long. And she said, a couple months rolled around to 6 months, and now here we are at a year.
Yeah, and now let's talk a little bit about Thursday, what's coming up and what Bobby's hosting. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that's going to look like?
Yeah, so when I asked Bobby these same questions, I said, what are you hoping to accomplish with this event? We know that Bobby and some of her family members, they are going to be on the Otsego County Courthouse lawn. That's kind of this main central location in downtown Gaylord. And they will be there for National Remembrance Day for murder victims. That also happens to coincide with the anniversary of Dean's death. So not only is she there honoring her loved one, her Dean's memory, she says she wants this to be a place where other families who have lost loved ones way too early are able to come and share the memories of their loved ones as well. And, talk about things that, kind of like a support group, talk about things that, maybe are frustrating them, whether their loved one's case is solved or unsolved. She says she doesn't want this to be solely about Dean, but it is kind of being wrapped around him because it is the 1 year since his passing. And so I asked her, are there going to be speeches? Do you want people to make speeches? Is this going to be kind of, a march down Main Street? And she said, that's still kind of up in the air. I really just want people to be able to gather together. It is at 11 a.m., so she has she's been told a lot of people are kind of taking their lunch around that time just to come out and support her.
Wow. Yeah, and is there anything else that you didn't mention in the story, or maybe what we've talked about, that you would like to mention now?
Yeah, I would just say that, in my conversations with Bobby, we talked a lot about, how do we achieve this perfect balance between, respecting law enforcement and their investigation, not wanting to give too many things away so that they can get their suspect. But how do we balance that with also keeping the families of these victims informed and knowing that their loved ones' cases are still being worked on? This is a conversation that I've had with other families across northern Michigan who have loved ones who have passed away and the cases are still unsolved. This is actually a common theme I've heard among them as well. So, we did have a conversation of how do we balance that? We don't want to jeopardize, law enforcement's investigation, but, how do we know that the different steps that are being taken to solve our loved one's death, we do want to be kept a little bit more in the loop, and there's not really any laws on the book that do say, hey, here is what you need to do for a victim's family. So that's something I think we'll explore a little bit more in depth later.
Yeah, absolutely. Allie Baxter working on that story for us today. Thank you, Allie. And again, if you'd like to join Bobby on Thursday, the National Remembrance event is happening at 11 a.m. at the Otsego County Building. If you have any information about Dean's death, his family asks that you contact the tip line for the Otsego County Sheriff's Office. Well, MESIC Consolidated Schools is weighing major decisions about one of its buildings, and community input could drive what happens next. UpNorthLive's Tony Lundy takes us to MESIC to talk about the potential changes to be made.
In MESIC, the elementary school has stood for generations, but now it's at a crossroads. The district is asking a big question. Should they renovate the building, replace it, or repurpose it entirely? Superintendent Jack Ledford says an assessment is nearly complete, and the next step is hearing directly from the people it affects most.
We want to hear what the community feels like the need is, and we are going to be super sensitive to what they want. Well, we're looking for young parents with their kids in this building, and so we really want to hear from them and hear their concerns, their suggestions, their take on this project.
The district will present options at a public meeting next week, which will be just the beginning of a longer process.
That's what Jack is doing on Tuesday night next week, is bringing the community in to gather some feedback, ask some questions, really try to understand how the community feels about the condition of their current schools, what types of things they might like to see improved in the future, how they might like to see that improved, so that we can kind of continue to gather that information and help put together that master plan.
Superintendent Ledford says the district will maintain transparency with regular updates. No plans are set in stone, and the district says your voice could shape what happens next. In MESIC, Tony Lundy, UpNorthLive News.
The public forum on the elementary school is scheduled for Tuesday, September 30th. It starts at 6 p.m. in the MESIC High School Library. And that takes us to our first break of the show. When we get back, we'll look at your weather forecast for later this week. Stay with us.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back to Unscripted. We're going to check in again with our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. And earlier, Joe, you're talking about, some of those warmer temperatures that we still have around. Are they going to stick around for even longer, or are we really seeing the last of them right now?
No, I don't think so. It's going to stick around for a while still.
Yeah.
Even into next week, we're looking at highs in the 70s. So if you're looking for those cooler, temperatures, we'll see them eventually.
Yeah.
But not anytime soon. There were areas that had a lot of sunshine today. This is one that did not quite as much. This is Silver Lake. We have a number of them in our viewing area. This is the one in Grand Traverse County, just outside Traverse City. Nice day. Can see somebody out there on the water earlier today. We had a couple showers, but not nearly as much rain as the previous night. Of course, we had that tornado. We mentioned that earlier in the show in parts of Antrim County last night. Let's check out Sault Ste. Marie. Oh, there it is. We've had some showers up here. That's a live look right now at the locks or close to there. And you can see some distant clouds, even a few showers falling out of them. We actually had a nice little rainbow here a little earlier. One question I am getting is the fall color. Where are we with that? So here's a look updated across the country. You can see the legend there on the right side of the screen. We'll zoom into the Great Lakes region. At least for our area, we're either little to no color yet, or we're in the patchy category. From interior parts of northern lower Michigan up into the UP. The western UP, as you get west of Marquette there on the Huron Mountains, that area is actually moderate to near peak right there. It's a small area, but again, this is going to accelerate as we move forward. As for those showers, let's take a look at radar up to the minute here. And there it is. Not a lot of rain. Most of the showers are up here. We just showed you the view there in Sault Ste. Marie. You can see some showers, especially just east of there, across the water there into Ontario. Showers will continue at times through tomorrow. We're not looking at much rain. You can see some of these spotty showers tomorrow morning. Clouds and fog early too in spots. A little more sun in the afternoon. And then Thursday, same thing kind of. A few showers before that comes to an end Thursday afternoon and evening. It is mild. Here are the current temperatures. We've talked about that. 60s, still 70s in some areas. That's not going to change. Large part of that where the jet stream lies, and it's north of us. So that's where the cold air is. Notice across northern Michigan, a little warm up. You can see where Traverse City, Chicago is, the Great Lakes area. Early next week, a big ridge on the eastern half of the country, so it's going to stay warm. The cold air bottled well up into the northern part of the hemisphere. And you see that. Look at that, 60s and 70s pretty much through the middle of next week. Looking ahead to the weekend, we all are. Saturday, partly to mostly sunny and warm. Sunday looks good, pretty quiet. And outside of a shower in the UP Friday, with a cold front, it looks quiet, Cody, heading into next week with some sunshine. So again, quiet stretch really overall.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a goal to get in all of my last summer activities over the last
probably a good idea.
Little bit. Yeah, well, it still looks like that. Thank you, Joe. And we're now going to take a quick look before we go to our break at our question of the day today. It's a big debate in northern Michigan, which is, where do you think up north begins? There's plenty of options. There's 7 of them, but just a couple. The Cadillac area, the Grayling area, or the Mackinac Bridge. You can still vote. You can scan the QR code on your screen right now, or you can vote on our Facebook page or our website, UpNorthLive.com. And we'll take another look at those results a little bit later. Now we're going to take that break. When we get back, we'll talk with Sports Director Harrison Beebe about what's on tap. Keep it here. Welcome back to Unscripted. It's an exciting time for sports right now, so we're going to bring in, who else? Our sports director, Harrison Beebe. Harrison, where are you right now?
Cody, I am at boys soccer because, as you and Joe were just talking about, you got to soak up the sun while you can. There's a shot of the sun right there.
Oh, that's great.
Blind everybody at home because we got a pretty cool soccer game going on. In fact, there's already a goal. It just started a few minutes ago. Traverse City Central leads Gaylord 1-0. I don't have the highlight, unfortunately. Hopefully I get a few more goals, though. We'll find out. That's up to the soccer gods to decide. But, yep, TC Central, huge win last week over TC West, the first in 8 years. It's been that long. Sometimes they play 3 times a year. They hadn't beat them since 2017. They got that win last week, which means we have a tie atop the Big North Conference. So if both teams win out, that means they'll end up with a co-conference championship, which would be very big for the Trojans to say they can have that on their resume for this season.
Yeah, exciting stuff. And, of course, the different football, the Lions last night, pretty big win. They looked good, yeah?
Yeah, and I like how you phrase that, the different football. It is indeed a different form of football. A lot more hands than legs used in the one that was on Monday Night Football last night. But, yeah, I mean, how easy is it now to forget that miserable start to the season against the Green Bay Packers after what the Lions did on the road last night?
Yeah.
Huge win, 38-30. And if you're not taking them as contenders in the NFC, I think last night was a full display of why you should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the way they bounced back, domination against the Bears, and then beating a very good team last night.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about baseball, Cody,
Yes,
because
I wanted your opinion on this.
That is now the drama. The Lions are going to play the Cleveland Browns on Sunday, but the
Yep.
big Detroit-Cleveland series starts tonight.
Yep.
One more go-around. We think they might meet in the playoffs again next week if it lines up right.
Yeah.
But Tigers-Guardians play one more regular season series. Tigers with just a one-game lead in the AL Central. They have Tarek Skubal going tonight, which is good.
Yeah.
But the bad news is the Guardians did beat Skubal on the mound last week in a Comerica Park game, so nothing's guaranteed in baseball. Tigers do have that one-game lead, and they would be tied if the Guardians win tonight. But Cleveland has 6 games at home to end the season. The Tigers, all 6, unfortunately, are on the road.
Yeah. If I told you 2 weeks ago, how important this series would be, I mean, it's incredible that we're at this point.
It is astonishing to think about last year, how remarkable of a run that was to the playoffs. This is arguably a worse collapse if they do not end up making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for joining us, Harrison. We're going to let you go back and get some of those highlights for tonight. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll take one last look at our question of the day. Stay with us.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. We're going to take one final look at our question of the day, and it's a big debate in northern Michigan. If you've been here long enough, you've heard it before. What do you think? Where do you think, rather, up north begins? And there are 7 options, plenty to choose from. The top is Cadillac area at 23%, Clare area 20%, and north of US 10 at 19%. Thank you for voting if you did, and thanks for joining us on Unscripted. Have a great night.